Hi, I'm Charles Westmoreland, editor of the Columbia Tribune. I'm here with our state and University of Missouri reporter, Rudi Keller. Now, as you probably read in our Wednesday edition, Russian trolls aren't just for political elections, but also they can impact us locally, such as what happened in 2015 during unrest at the University of Missouri. Now, Rudi's going to talk to us a little bit about his coverage of this story and some things that are going to be coming up over the next few days.
Well, on Friday, there was an indictment handed down in Washington, D.C. that named 3 Russian organizations and 13 Russian individuals with charging them with federal crimes for meddling in the 2016 election. One of the interesting things about that indictment is that it named the agency identified in the report about Mizzou as the likely source of the Twitter trolls and Twitter attack on Mizzou that was intended to generate fear and play on worries of a white backlash in the aftermath of the 2015 protests. So Robert Mueller has indicted the agency identified by Lieutenant Colonel Jared Pryor as the likely source of that attack. So I think that strengthens the idea that the Russians actually were the ones who were attempting to spread disunity, create fear and disruption here in Columbia.
Now, and during your conversation with Pryor, he said that there are specific situations that kind of lend themselves to this activity.
Yeah, I had a long conversation with Lieutenant Colonel Pryor on Wednesday night after our story ran, and he described how the Russian trolls target things that are currently trending in order to inject themselves, inject fake news, to create arguments with journalists, whatever they can do to disrupt and make people skeptical of the real news that is coming to them and whether or not they're being told the truth by their government. So that interview was fascinating because we ran the gamut from why he thinks with certainty that these were Russian trolls and how he came to be doing this research in the first place, and what are the big strategic concepts that the United States needs to do to understand in order to defend itself against these, plus how individuals can vet this kind of information to protect themselves.
Well, and Pryor told you during your interview that his report that we did the story on, and I'll mention we were the first to report on this story, is now being used by the intelligence community as an example of cyber warfare.
Yeah, so it's the conclusions and the information he came up with is being studied to develop techniques for counter cyber warfare on this level within the United States government. Plus, at the National Intelligence University, they are reading his paper in order to train our intelligence operatives on how to identify this.
So in the Saturday edition of the Tribune, you can learn a little bit more about the connection between Russian meddling and what's happened with Mizzou and some other locations. And then be sure to look at Sunday's edition or read us online at columbiatribune.com for our exclusive interview with Lieutenant Colonel Pryor about this. Rudi, thank you.
Thank you very much, Charles.